Welcome to episode 9, Restorative Practices Made Simple. Today's topic is the Fidelity Continuum Scale. So just what is the Fidelity Continuum Scale? Per TEA and our definition, the Fidelity Continuum Scale is a guide for school districts to use to determine the point of implementation of restorative discipline plans and processes and practices at the school district and the campus level. Restorative practices is a process, not a program, that requires 3 to 5 years of implementation. The idea is to start small and then expand. The Fidelity Continuum Scale will provide a reliable and effective measure of the extent to which school district personnel are applying all the key components of restorative discipline practices. It really gets into the assessment of your training. Have you had good training? And if you had training, what are you doing with it? If you have the training, are you now doing circles? Are you doing implementation of community building circles? Are you doing repairing the harm circles? Are you doing reentry circles? What kind of circles are you doing? And then the last part, if you've done all of that, what does the data tell you about your discipline at that school? We have 2 panelists here today with us, experts in the field, by the way, Jennifer McCready and Shirley. They will answer a series of questions on how to use the Fidelity Continuum Scale and the results that they've received. Jennifer, would you like to start for us today?
My name is Jennifer McCready. I'm the counselor at Tomball Connections Academy that has Tomball ISD's DAP program.
Thank you. Jake?
Shirley. I'm the principal at Northlake Elementary in Garland ISD, and I've been working with Dr. Lang utilizing restorative discipline practices since about 2016.
Yeah, you've been with me a while. I don't see how you're not tired yet. So let's just get into the questions. So the first question I'd like to ask you is about training. Both of you are experts in doing the Fidelity Continuum Scale, and there's a reason for that. So tell me the training you've gotten. I know you've gotten training from me and maybe from others, but for sure, you have to have this level of training. So talk about the training you received, because that training leads directly into the practices of circles. And the practices of circle gives you the results in the data side. So Jennifer, tell me about the training and how do you train other people? Now that you have it, who do you give it to?
I've had all the TEA training, and I share not only with my school campus, but with other interested people around my district. Here at my school in August, we always do a reboot. And then throughout the school year, we visit it monthly in the circle on how we're doing with various aspects of restorative practices, whether it's circles, respect agreement, I statements, restorative paths, whatever it is, but it's continuous. As new staff comes and with us, I work with them more intensely, maybe partner with them on their first several circles until they're comfortable.
Okay. So Jake, you've had training. How do you train your people? Do they get any training? How's it happen?
Yes, ma'am. I've received all the TEA restorative discipline training, starting with early childhood all the way on up. Restorative discipline is a big part of not only my beginning of year in service, but my ongoing professional development with my staff throughout the year. When I first take over a campus and we're getting started, I start with that cohort model, pick 1 or 2 grade levels to train them, let them become the experts, and then I lean on them pretty heavily as I'm beginning to bring more people on campus on board with restorative practices. Then once I've got everyone on board at the beginning of every school year during in-service, we give that full training to all of my staff so that all of our new staff members are brought on board. I get a refresher from all of my staff that have been through it, and I allow them then to help do some of that training so that my new staff can see it's not just Mr. Shirley that is on board with restorative discipline, but we are all on board. This is how we do things at Northlake.
Wow, that's really powerful when you get teachers to sell it for you. You don't have to do as much work because the buy-in is there. Jennifer, did you want to add anything to your training? Anything else you want to say about it? Okay. So one of the things that I know, training is very important. But once you have the training, what do you do with it? So are you actually doing community building circles? Are you actually doing repairing the harm? Are you actually doing circles of support and accountability? Jake, what do you do? How are they doing this in your school?
We use community building circles for everything. In fact, right before I hopped on this call with you, preparing for a leadership summit, workshop that I'm going to have with my leadership team here in just a couple of days. And things that I'm going to do to start off is a community building circle about what does it mean to be a leader? How can we be a leader? How can we demonstrate these things? And we're going to use that circle process so that we're all on the same page there. Teachers use restorative circles and community building circles on a daily basis. We do that every morning. Right after they have breakfast, they get a full belly. Now we get to hear their voices. They get to share with one another. I expect that my teachers are not only facilitating those circles, but they're sitting in and part of those circles. I try first thing right after breakfast here at Northlake, I try to make my rounds and participate in at least one of those circles every morning so that our kids can see this is not just their community, but I, as the principal, I'm a part of the community. We're equals here. We all have a voice in this. My voice is louder than yours when we're sitting in this circle together.
Oh, that is wonderful. I'm sure they like it a lot. What about your assistant principals? Do they actually use conflict repair circles or anything like that?
Absolutely. That's our first go-to. We have a big belief that discipline does not mean a consequence. Discipline is to teach. Yes, sometimes we partner that with consequences, but first we have to teach. And before we can do the teaching, we have to repair that harm. In fact, I'm bringing on a new assistant principal here at Northlake this year. So it's a great opportunity for me as we're, gearing up for this next school year to make sure that she understands that that's how we do things here at Northlake. We are going to address the harm that has been dealt first and foremost before we worry about consequences.
Oh, wow, that is fabulous. That's exactly what it's intended to do. Beautiful. Jennifer, what about you? So how do they use it in your school? How are they using circles daily, weekly, monthly? And how do you get them to get involved? I know you had a DAP, so it's a little bit different. So can you explain that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. So we do circles as staff, of course, and then we also have weekly community building circles. We have special topics circles, social skills circles. Unique to the DAP program, we say goodbye to students and talk about their strengths and good qualities before they leave. And then we partner with our home campuses to do the reentry circles. I tallied last year, we did 155 formal circles here on our campus.
300 and what?
355.
355 circles on your campus.
Right. Wow. In addition to the daily check-in circle round after they ate their breakfast.
Woo. Plenty of circles happening over there. Wow, that is awesome. That's how come you became an expert, huh? I love it. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Good. So now we talked about your training. We talked about the implementation of circles. Now we come down to the good part. You did all that work. How can you prove that what you've done actually yielded any reduction in discipline, any change in behavior, or anything like that? This is what the Fidelity Continuum Scale should be able to tell you. Did you have training? Did you implement any of it? And once you've implemented, what's your result? This is the data part. This is what the scale ultimately ends up telling you. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with the data collection, and did there have any differences? I know, Jennifer, you've been doing it a while. So can you kind of speak to results, the data results using the Fidelity Continuum Scale?
I think the first time I worked with our staff, we looked at it and we didn't apply for a badge. We just saw our deficit areas. So we had then a list of things that we needed to work on. But when we did finally apply for the badge and we earned experience first, we went from 190 discipline incidents the year that we implemented to 27 the following year. So that was a vast reduction in referrals that the students that were given. And then we had a slight uptick when we had a leadership change. And then this past year, we went down again, and we went from 50 discipline incidents the year before to, I think it is a total of 15. So again, a reduction when we refocus.
So you had 50, and you went to a reduction of 15, 15.
Correct, okay. 15, yes.
Well, that's pretty good. I think that that is important. And being at a DAP, they're there for discipline problems. And if you have discipline problems while they're there and having more discipline problems, it is important and paramount that you do something about that, because you can't put them out the place that they're there for in the first place. So you have to do something different. You have to address the issues in a different way. So that's really good data.
And we want to send them back with some additional skills, interpersonal skills that they may not have had when they got to us.
Okay, that's really good. So that's part of that sense of belonging, that whole I'm here, I'm trying to learn, help me, that kind of thing. And students walk away feeling a sense of somebody cared about me while I was there.
And my voice matters.
Yes, exactly. Okay, I like that so much. So, I mean, this is really great for DAP, really, honestly. Okay, Jake, what do you want to say about that same topic, your data?
Sure. We try really hard to collect data throughout the year. So it's not just come May, start gathering that data. We look at our discipline data once a month as a leadership team so that we can see those gaps and those needs, and we can tweak as we're moving along. Maybe we're seeing an uptick in a certain grade level. We can say, are they doing their circles regularly? Do they have their respect agreement, and is it updated? Are they referring back to it often? And so we want to catch those things as we're going. We don't want to wait until May. And so we do a pretty good job of collecting that informal data all along the way. So when you get to May, we've got all that in front of us. We have that full picture to really look at. When I was working out in East Texas, this was a big focus for us. And the teachers that first started implementing restorative discipline practices, a lot of them were great teachers to start with, but they even saw a 30% reduction in office referrals from their classrooms. And these are already quality teachers. And they even saw that dramatic dip in discipline referrals when they started implementing restorative discipline practices. But the biggest success was our frequent flyers, those kids that are coming through the office regularly and often. We saw them and their discipline incidents cut in half if they were in a classroom that implemented restorative discipline practices. So they were exposed to that kind of language, that philosophy, that way of thinking more often because they were seeing us a little bit more often. But when they realized that this is how we're going to be together, that we're going to work on relationships, those incidences were cut in half on our campus.
I love that. So both of you talked about how you work with teachers. The Fidelity Continuum Scale requires you to have a response leadership team. The response leadership team are made up of some key people. So tell me who's on your team and how do they do, because when you do this Fidelity Continuum Scale, you get these people together, and then the next thing you do is have them to actually go through the document. So take a few minutes, and each of you, I'll give you a chance to speak, step me through, you're not by name, but by position maybe, who's on your Fidelity Continuum Scale. When do you use your Fidelity Continuum Scale? How and when do you collect the data? So at the end of the year, you're not struggling. Well, we have to hurry up and do this. We have to, it shouldn't be that. This should be an ongoing, every now and then, just touch base, because you can't fix a problem at the end of the year. You have to fix it as you're going along. And the Fidelity Continuum Scale encourages you to do just that. Step me through who's on it. How often do you use it? And at the end, did you fill out anything to get the TA badge of, hey, we're a restorative campus? I know, Jake, you have one, and Jennifer, you have one. So who's on your team? Jake, who makes up your Fidelity Continuum Scale team?
For those of us that get together to talk about the Fidelity Continuum Scale are myself, my assistant principal, our counselor, and then we have a representative from every single grade level, because restorative discipline should be hitting every single classroom, every single grade level. It doesn't matter if they're 4 years old and in pre-K, or if they're 11, 12 years old getting ready to leave us to go to middle school. They're being touched by this. And so we need to make sure that it is taking place in every area. And then occasionally throughout the year, we will bring a parent representative in to sit in and be a part of this as well, because our parents really need to see that this is how we're doing things at Northlake. And they oftentimes have a good insight as to what is and is not working when they're talking to their kids. They hear we're doing community building circles. They hear they're going to talk another language. And so oftentimes they bring that valuable insight when we're talking about data and assessing the effectiveness of restorative practices on our campus.
And so how often do you meet with your team? Once a 6 weeks, once a month?
We meet together once a month, get that discipline data, just little check-ins along the way, like said, to make sure that we are staying on track and we're not going far into left field. And then we do a big conference at the beginning of the year to make sure we're starting on the right foot, and then again to conclude and cap our year all together.
Wow, that is really nice that you have all the teachers involved. And I bet they appreciate that, because I think when you give them voice or let them know their voice matters, buy-in, it becomes even simpler to them. It's like, yeah, they want my opinion. Well, yeah, I can tell them something versus being told something, you know. So that's really great that you have all the teachers there. Wonderful. Good job. And kudos on the parent. Kudos on the parent. Okay, Jennifer, what about you? Who makes up your team?
Well, we have a very small school, and so we have one administrator. So he's on our response leadership team. As the counselor, I am. And then we have kind of a jack of all trades teacher. He does special ed, PE, handles kind of maybe some behaviors before they escalate. And so he is the representative of our teaching team. We only have 6 teachers for all of our programs, so he's a good representative. Informally, though, we meet with everybody, and we do a student school climate and circles survey when students leave our program, and we look at that constantly to assess how we're doing, because how the students feel and what they're gaining from our programming is our primary concern. As far as looking at data, like formally, we do it twice a year, once a semester.
Okay. Makes sense to me. That's good. And with such a small staff for you all to do this informally, you probably are touching them more often than not, because they're so small. Such a small group, you can get around to them rather quickly, versus
Yes.
Jake has a lot of people that he has to deal with. So him bringing them together collectively to get that one voice out there is really, really important. So we now know that you have a response leadership team. We know that you meet with them. We know that you monitor the data. Is there anything else you do with the Fidelity Continuum Scale? Once you have all that data, I know I get it and I look at it. So what's the purpose of giving it to me? You just want me to see it? How do you think I need to know? Why do I need to know about it? What's the benefit to you? Is there a benefit, Jennifer? What's your benefit?
I think it gives you some leverage to maybe get some things for your program to help enhance. And so this year I was able to get some funding to put together restorative practices toolkits for all my teachers. And in that beautiful toolkit, we have professional resources, card decks for our community building circles, all sorts of fun things like talking pieces, the thumb balls, conversation cubes. And so that was a big benefit, because we can say, look, this is working. So help us spend some money on it. In addition, there was one empty room. So I advocated for it to be our circle room. So we have a dedicated room that is just for circles, and it's set up just for circles.
Bravo, bravo.
Yes.
All right, Jennifer, way to go. That was a big benefit. Good job there. And
so
PA gives you a badge too, because of
yes,
you're continually using the product, showing discipline being reduced. And I am so proud of that. Good deal. Way to go,
and
Jennifer.
it's so nice to have that room, because it does feel special.
Yeah, it does. Oh, God, it's a big benefit, Jennifer. Jay, what about you? You're the boss. You're the principal. So what do you do?
Well, I haven't been able to leverage it to get any extra rooms in my building, but I think the biggest benefit is that we like to talk a big game as educators about educating the whole child and taking care of the whole child's needs. But oftentimes when we talk about measuring our success, we're looking at star accountability, we're looking at test scores, and we don't have a lot of other metrics to see, are we really meeting the needs of all of our kids? And the Fidelity Continuum Scale is one of the few ways that we've been provided to really see, are we meeting the needs of the kids outside of just their academics, just their star or MAP test scores? It's a way for us to hold ourselves accountable to that goal and that vision that we have on our website, every child, every day. This is one of those ways that we can say the proof is in the pudding. We are caring for every child every day and all of their needs.
I think that is so powerful, Jake, because one of the things I tell people, we don't suspend kids if they can't read. We don't suspend them if they don't know how to do math or anything like that. Before we suspend them, we give them tutorials. Before we do anything of putting them in a lower grade level or anything, we give tutorials, we reteach, we do something different with them. We differentiate instruction. We do nothing for discipline. We expect them to come in knowing how to behave. They don't necessarily know how to do that, or we wouldn't have the problems. Culturally, things changed a long time ago about kids. So now we have to engage them differently. We have to set the expectation, but before we set it, show them, teach them, tell them, this is what I want you to do. Other than you should know how to act. Well, some adults don't know how to act either. So that's the reality. So if you want someone to know how to do something, teach them what you want them to know, give them time to practice that behavior, reteach it if you have to, just like you reteach math, reteach behavior so that they get it. This is what my teacher wants me to do. And doing it one time won't happen. They didn't learn how to do math once. They didn't learn how to read just once. So we need to do the same practices with discipline that we use for academics. And I think once we see that as a part of the learning, the whole child, it's great. And if you think you could teach academics to someone who's misbehaving all the time, it's not going to happen. You have got to have them where they, one, respect you, two, trust you, and that you trust and believe that they could do it yourself. Teaching is not going to happen because you say so. It's going to happen because you're engaging that person to do it. But that's just Dr. Lang's theory. What do I know? Okay, so thank you so much for being with us today. And you all have done a fantastic job at your schools. I'm so proud of the work that you're doing. I want you to keep going. The Fidelity Continuum Scale is available in the training model. They have both had this training, and it's offered twice a year, once in December and once in June. And it's always posted on TEA's webpage. So anybody that wants to join or take the course, you can do so. But prior to doing that, as Jennifer and Jake both said, they've had all the previous training, because trying to do the Fidelity Continuum Scale won't matter, because all the training that I talk about is in the Fidelity Continuum Scale. So it won't matter if you just sign up for that. Make sure you sign up for all the other ones. And then at the end, do the Fidelity Continuum Scale. And we also offer a badge saying that you're a restorative campus if you turn in your data. Jennifer and Jake turns in their data. So of course they're a campus that will get a badge. So until the next time, keep listening. Thank you.